As I reviewed the information contained in the next sprint, I realized there was no way to do constructive training on the updates as there was no common thread between the updates. Rather, it was a series of changes in verbiage, buttons, and drop downs from all over the curriculum or the process as a whole, rather than within a specific step or part of the process. As it stands, this will not make sense to the end user, I said. We have to organize it in a way that makes sense to the end user. Otherwise, there's no way to ensure the transfer of training. Or simply stated, for them to remember what has changed, why it changed, and how they need to address it or interact with it going forward. If you're new here, my name is Jennifer Mitchell-Early. I help individuals and teams achieve organizational and personal success by providing customized training, resources, tips, and tools to help you pursue purpose and accomplish your goals. If you're looking to grow and evolve personally and professionally, hit the like button, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload new content. This is Leadership Matters. Today, we're talking about waterfall and agile design methodologies. My background is predominantly in leadership training. For the better part of 20 years, my focus has been in the area of soft skills, focusing on interpersonal skills or people skills that can be used in any and every job. These include communication, teamwork, leadership, coaching, feedback, professionalism, and the like. In recent years, my focus has shifted to include technical writing and training. As such, I have been tasked with reviewing and designing training materials for systems and job-specific hard skills that involve the understanding and practical application of basic principles of science and mathematics that enable employees to work proficiently. For example, I recently developed a multi-day curriculum for new hires and existing employees throughout the transmission division of a local utility company on safe rigging practices. Rigging provides a means to safely lift and move heavy equipment and materials. It is a noun and a verb referring to both the act of setting equipment, materials, machines, and oversized loads up to be lifted, as well as the method by which something is lifted, moved, transported, positioned, pulled, and secured. This encompasses a variety of components which are used to secure and distribute the load in question in order to facilitate the moving process and ensure that it is completed safely and successfully. Industries which require the services of rigging equipment include construction, engineering, and event planning. Think about all that goes into the visual aspects of a music concert for your favorite artist: the lights, backdrops, special effects, and everything else. Those all involve rigging. The development of this program was very straightforward and methodical. First, I had to educate myself on rigging. After doing the research, as my client only provided me with the direction to ensure that the program conformed to OSHA standards, or Occupational Safety and Health Administration regulations, and a 20-page document of photocopied rigging, slings, ropes, and hitches, I began to flesh out my objectives and follow the Longevin Learning Services design cycle, similar to ADDIE: analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate, to develop all program materials. Ultimately, I followed the design cycle to develop a curriculum that included an 8-chapter participant manual, facilitators guides, PowerPoint presentations, exercises, assessments, and videos, of which encompassed video creation, production, scripting, voiceover, and editing. Essentially, I use the waterfall method of instructional design. It is one of two popular approaches to instructional design. The other is the Agile method. The waterfall method is a linear, sequential approach where each stage of the design process is completed before moving on to the next stage. In contrast, the Agile method is iterative and focuses on developing the design in multiple cycles with continuous feedback and revisions. It was developed as a response to Waterfall's more rigid structure. As a result, it's a much more fluid form of project management and approach to instructional design. Agile methodology in instructional design is an iterative approach that focuses on collaboration, flexibility, and continuous improvement. It involves breaking down the development processes into smaller, more manageable phases, with each phase being tested, evaluated, and refined before moving on to the next. This approach allows for more efficient development and the ability to adapt to changing needs and feedback throughout the process. For example, a software development project can take years to complete, and technology can change significantly during that time. Agile was developed as a flexible method that welcomes incorporating changes of direction even late in the process, as well as for accounting for stakeholders' feedback throughout the process. In Agile, the team will work on phases of the project concurrently, often with short-term deadlines. Additionally, the team, rather than a project manager, drives the project's direction. This can empower the team to be more motivated and productive, but also requires a more self-directed team. And while this method has obvious benefits for a project manager, I did see some drawbacks as an instructional designer. I was on a project where I had been tasked with designing and delivering a training program for a client that was replacing the system that it used to track communication with electricity meters. They're going to replace that system with ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a robust ticketing system used mainly by organizations in their help desk functions. It is a platform for IT teams use to create tickets and assign them to the correct team members. The system can be used to track tickets and log the progress of each ticket. It is a cloud-based, all-in-one system that adheres to ITIL guidelines. I designed incident management, change management, problem management, and knowledge management ServiceNow training curriculum for this client. When I started, I was preparing for the go live. So much of what I needed had been created in the system. I was given a sprint that contained a number of stories from which to develop training materials. An Agile sprint is a time-box iteration of an Agile project in which a set amount of work or a specific group of product capabilities is completed and demonstrated. An Agile project is broken down into a number of sprints, each taking the project closer to completion. An Agile sprint relies on three roles: the product owner, the development team, and the Scrum Master. Sprints typically last from 1 week to no more than 4 weeks. Stories are short, simple descriptions of functionality, usually told from the user's perspective and written in their language. Stories are the primary artifact used to define system behavior in Agile. Each story is intended to enable the implementation of a small vertical slice of system behavior that supports incremental development. The first sprint for the go live had been completed, and the light version of the incident management training program was developed, and employees were successfully trained on the new system. I continued to get new sprints containing large, cohesive functionality from which I was able to develop additional training modules. As the development slowed or moved to new system functionality, I was given sprints that were mostly made up of bug fixes and or functional processes that had not been fully developed in previous iterations. Because of the variety of the stories containing a mix of functionality, there was no continuity or structure to the sprints as it relates to instructional design. Agile methodology is a popular approach to software development that has been adapted for instructional design. While it has many benefits, there are also some challenges that instructional designers face, like I did, when using Agile to develop training, including but not limited to lack of structure. Agile is an iterative process that relies on flexibility and adaptability. This can be challenging for instructional designers who are used to working with a more structured approach. Difficulty in estimating time and resources. Agile projects are often difficult to estimate in terms of time and resources required, and this can make it challenging for instructional designers to plan and budget effectively. Lack of documentation. Agile projects often prioritize working software over comprehensive documentation. This can be challenging for instructional designers who need to create detailed training materials. Difficulty in managing stakeholder expectations. Agile projects require close collaboration between stakeholders and development teams. This can be challenging for instructional designers who may not have experience managing stakeholder expectations. Lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities. Agile projects rely on self-organizing teams that work together to achieve project goals. This can be challenging for instructional designers who may not have a clear understanding of their role in the project. Thankfully, in my situation, once explained, my clients understood and agreed that the sprints containing a variety of functional fixes would not be appropriate for instructor-led training, but would best serve the end user when introduced as a job aid or a standard operating procedure, SOP. Both methods, Agile and Waterfall, have their advantages and disadvantages. So let's go over a few. Waterfall methodology. Waterfall is a linear project progression, so it's best suited for projects with a defined end goal. If a project owner has a clear and specific vision of an app, for example, and is confident it will not change throughout the project development, Waterfall methodologies could be a good system to follow. The pros of Waterfall include clear and well-defined project phases, easy to understand and manage for both the development team and stakeholders, emphasizes documentation, which can aid in maintenance and future development, predictable timeline and budget. Cons: limited flexibility and adaptability to change. Late detection of errors or issues can be costly to fix. May not accommodate for user feedback or evolving requirements. Testing and quality assurance are typically done at the end of the development cycle, which can lead to delays and additional costs. Agile methodology leaves a lot of room to adapt and change course as the project develops. It's better suited for projects where the outcome may be dependent on more research or testing. The pros of the Agile methodology include flexibility. Agile allows for changes to be made throughout the design process, making it easier to adapt to changing needs and requirements. Collaboration. Agile encourages collaboration among team members, resulting in a more cohesive and effective design process. User-centered. Agile puts the user at the center of the design process, resulting in a product that better meets their needs. Iterative. Agile breaks the design process into smaller, more manageable chunks, making it easier to address issues and make improvements. Now, the cons. Agile is time-consuming. It can be more time-consuming than traditional methods due to the need for constant collaboration and iteration. There's a learning curve. Agile requires a certain level of familiarity and understanding, which may require additional training or resources. Scope creep. Without proper management, Agile projects can suffer from scope creep, where the project expands beyond its original objectives. We've all had experience with that, right? Documentation. Agile places less emphasis on documentation, which can make it difficult to track progress and ensure accountability and to design materials. There are several factors to consider when you're choosing between Waterfall and Agile. Does your project require strict regulations or requirements? Waterfall is better suited for projects with regulations or requirements because each phase's deliverables and strict procedures ensure that they are met. For instance, the Waterfall method worked well for me since safety was definitely a factor with the curriculum because it had to meet OSHA and ASME, American Society of Mechanical Engineers standards, and other industry standards. And that was for the rigging program. On the other hand, the Agile methodology worked well for the ServiceNow IT project, where the parallel development proceeded in different phases. To this end, Agile and Waterfall are two different management methodologies best suited for different types of projects. The choice between them depends on the specific project requirements and constraints. Waterfall instructional design may be better than Agile when the project requirements are well defined and unlikely to change. The project is relatively small and the team members have experience using the Waterfall methodology. However, Agile may be more appropriate when the project requirements are uncertain and subject to change. The project is larger and more complex, and the team members are adaptable and comfortable with iterative development. Ultimately, the choice depends on the specific needs and constraints of the project. I hope this helps you understand the difference between Agile and Waterfall and making your choice going forward. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.